It happens.
Be a rebel, and that's what I've chosen to do my entire life. So maybe anybody want to say anything about what Jimmy's done for them? It's a good time to do it.
Well, I grew up in Texas, and in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, it is mandatory required in our English and literature classes that we read everything on James Dean and watch the movies and everything. Of course, being Giant Bean and Martha, Texas was always kind of into that anyways. And so they let all the kids in the schools make up their own mind on the creativity part of his life. And then they challenged us to go out and be creative ourselves. So, you know, for age 11, 12, 13, 14 and on up, it was a big, not just my life, but the schools that I went to in San Antonio, everybody was all about that. And I was in the drama classes in high school, and it just made a big impact. So when I met Don, and he was all about James Dean too, because he was an actor. He did acting before I ever met him. But just that creative spirit that he had, no matter if it was the artist part of him, or if it was the theatrical, or like we were told today, the debating part, you know, he could touch a lot of kids and a lot of other people too. So that was my start, was from that.
I got out of the Navy in February of '55. In March, me and my girlfriend went to see East of Eden. I never saw anybody act like that before. Never. I couldn't get over that. And when he got killed, I thought there'd be never anybody to act like him. Until, now, I'm not saying this, until I went to see Midnight Express with Brad Davis. He was close, but still not even with Jimmy.
Jimmy made it okay for men to be vulnerable on screen, and it just trickled down. It was, you know, quite a gift.
He made it okay for us to be ourselves too. The thing I just absolutely love about him is how inclusive he was, and if you really watch what he's doing, he's a little bit of all of us. He's a little bit of you, he's a little bit of me, he's a whole lot himself, just a total individual. But yet, all of these qualities that he has, you can see in other people. You know, he watched, he studied, and he just really took in human nature to me. And he's just so wonderfully inclusive.
Getting off of that, I mean, as Pamela said, the reason we all liked him and connected with him was he was vulnerable. He was okay to cry. That's how we connect.
Yes.
And it's a rare thing, especially for men, as you said. I could say so much about him, but my favorite quote from him was, you know, this is only the gentle are ever really strong.
He was very bloodletting.
Yes.
But how many of you who are older and maybe like Dean were young, do you look at him, I look at him now that I'm a mother differently than when I was in my 20s. I now see the boy who lost his mother, which was not something I appreciated in my 20s.
So that added to that angst that we all relate to.
Yes.
Well, I know the first time I read whichever book it was in 6th grade, I stayed in my house all day long, read the book, and I cried for like 3 days.
Yes.
And like, I didn't want to go to church. I just wanted to stay home and cry. Just the fact when you find out how young he was when he died, and the fact that he had lost his mom as a child, and it's just like you have this. I wasn't a mother yet, but I had that same empathy and maternal instincts that just want to like, oh, go pick him up and give him a hug, you know, even though he was already gone before I was born.
But damn, he fit so much in his short.
He did.
He did so much.
I know, I was really, really sad about the way his life was just snuffed out almost as quickly as it came into the world. It seemed like he was gone. But until I came here and stood on the farm.
4 minutes.
And when I stood on the farm, I realized and had met Marcus that he was just wrapped in love when he came here. They just wrapped him up in love and took care of him, and it made me somehow feel better. I felt so much better looking out, knowing that he lived in this wonderful town, in this peaceful environment, and was very, very much loved by his family.
Yeah, I felt that too. Really
Yes.
gave me peace about it.
I wrote a poem on top of the roof on 68th Street for Jimmy, and Jimmy knows it well. And if you'd like, I can recite it now.
Oh, I would love for you to.
Rolling, somersaulting tumble, passing on in through atmospheric fire, we enter, re-enter, Fairmount. Turning toward returning, we iterate and reiterate, falling, the fall, falling, the fall, back, down to earth, beeline belly flop, back, into the sea, all in the same swim, constant.
Lovely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right.
I just know I was first introduced to James Dean when I was 8 because of my mom. We'd go to the library every day. She did the children's hour, and then we'd get a classic movie. And she loved classic Hollywood. And we got Rebel Without a Cause. And I was just completely obsessed. I'd watch it every day, pretend I was Natalie Wood, and still kind of do that. And then, but you know, as a kid, there are a lot of things you love, like, you know, every girl goes through like a horse phase or, you know, things like that. And I think one of the things I really love about James Dean is just, out of all of the things in my life, he's always been a constant. I've never like outgrown him or gotten bored by him. Like, he's always ahead of us. He's always ahead, and that's what I love about him.
That is so true. He's
It is.
ageless. And people still
Timeless.
try to look like him all over the world. It's really quite remarkable.
He's timeless.
When I was a teenager in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a newspaper editor was just constantly raving about James Dean. I carried the paper and I thought, why is he doing that? And it was a little bit later, my parents were visiting relatives in Springfield, Missouri, and I was walking by an afternoon theater, and the second run, East of Eden, was showing. I walked in, and just like Phil said, I was captured when I saw James Dean, one side of the CinemaScope screen, which is big then, and Joe Van Fleet on the other, talking back and forth. And that independence and that James Dean just captured me. From then on, they were calling me Jimmy in high school, and I knew everything about James Dean. We love it.
I forget what year it was when I came out here, but I met this Paul. He was writing a book on James Dean. He interviewed me for half a day, and when I got home back to York, a friend of mine, she worked at the library. I told her about this book that's coming out. So about 6 months later, she called me. Phil, she said, that book's out on Jimmy by Paul. I can't think of his last name. He ain't that important anyway. But anyway, she said, when you read that book, she said, you're really going to be tipped off. I thought, uh-oh. So, she said, I'll bring the book over to our optical office.
Guys, it's time. It's
Time.
5:45 in California and 8:45 here. If we could have 1 minute of silence and prayers. aside from prayers, I'd like to thank Jimmy and express accolades for what he's given us and what he continues to give us going forward.
Thank you, Jimmy, for rocking our world and bringing us all together.
Thank you, buddy.
I love you, Jimmy.
Love you.
You are not forgotten.
Who's coming next year?
Raise your candle.
I just wanted to say I really enjoy meeting the people here
Yes.
year after year.
Yeah, they're okay.
And what started out as watching East of Eden back in 1983 for me, I became a fan ever since. I wanted to become an actor after that, and I don't know, I just met some really cool people. Pam, president of the fan club. Thanks, ma'am. And meeting Kip, who writes for the Dean Zine, and Pamela, how do you say it? Debar? Debar. I read some of her stuff. Dorothy Schultz, she's an awesome sculptor. Her sidekick, Christy Pulleyberry, Russell Aronson, Phil Ziegler, who's, I call him the beatnik poet. Tim's really cool, Lenny and David. And then, of course, the Marcuses that carry the torch for Jimmy.
Yes.
I think it's really cool.
And thanks to Dave and Lenny for sponsoring this Candlelight Vigil every single year. We love you.
Thanks.